Thank you, Bryn. Yeah, an eclectic grid of cars then making their way out onto the circuit now for our Track Attack Nippon Challenge race, which incorporates a few different classes of cars, actually. The Nippon Challenge incorporating the Tricolor Trophy and the Multimark series as well, but it's a bit of a run what you brung kind of series in a way. You kind of, whatever car you've got, generally, if it's a saloon or hatchback anyway, there will be a class for you. And that means that whoever you are, wherever you are, you have the opportunity to come a race against like-minded individuals in a real wide variety of machines. So, yeah, looking forward to this one. They're always pretty entertaining races. Yeah, the grid certainly tells us that we're in for a pretty entertaining race, because qualifying this morning was damp-ish, so it's jumbled the order a little bit, and some cars that were really good in the wet may struggle a bit more in the dry, and vice versa. So I think we could have a few cars coming from further back that should, in theory, be able to improve upon their grid positions. The field, as you can see, are making their way around on the green flag lap. It's Richard Hockley who has the pole position in his GT300 class Honda Civic. There you can see him, the 111 car. Second on the grid, David Baldwin in a Renault Clio. In fact, it's two Renault Clios next, because Josh Bennett is third, but they're running in different classes. David Baldwin Class A, Josh Bennett Class E, and in fact the top 5 cars on the grid are all class pole sitters, because then you've got the GT200 class pole driver, Kelly Brabin, in the Toyota Celica. There you can see it, the green and blue car. And fifth on the grid, the GT250 class pole sitter, Jamie Anderson in Honda Civic. Then sixth on the grid is Phil Wright in another Civic. They're actually the top 2 in their class. That should be an interesting battle. Seventh place, Robbie Durant in the Subaru Impreza, that will have been certainly well suited to a potential wet race today. At the moment, though, the track is dry, although there are some ominous looking clouds above. Then you've got Andy Neal, who has qualified 8th in his Peugeot 106 Rally, with Nick Gwinnett and Alfie Jones 9th and 10th on the grid respectively. Keep an eye further back to the horde of Peugeot 206s that make up Class F. Daniel Perry, 15th on the grid, is the quickest of those in qualifying, but by only a 10th and a half over Paul Rice, number 42 in second position. The Mazda RX-5 of Sean Kite should be rapid. Also, the Mazda RX-8 of Clive Hainsford. You can see that, the yellow and red car towards the tail end of the grid. And yeah, real mix of cars and manufacturers out there. Lots of class battles to keep an eye on, which we'll try and keep up to date with as the race goes on. But our final race then before lunch, the first of 2 today for the Track Attack Nippon Challenge and the Tricolor Trophy, is about to get underway. 15 minutes will be the duration for both of their races. And keep an eye actually to that Subaru that lines up 7th on the grid. Whilst it will go better in the wet, it will have very good traction off the line, you'd imagine, being 4-wheel drive. So keep an eye on Durant, the blue number 33 Subaru from the inside of row number 4. The rest of the field, though, is in place. The red lights go on. Richard Hockley and David Baldwin on the front row of the grid together. Away we go. And it's not a good start made by Baldwin from the outside of the front row, so Hockley will get the lead. And coming through on the inside, I think, as well, is Josh Bennett. The Celica of Brabin looks to the outside. They're almost 4 abreast as they go into Redgate Corner for the first time. The number 50 car, though, I think has somehow managed to come through that in second place. Brabin, gets elbowed out a bit wide there as they turn through Redgate Corner. But they're all just about going to get through, I think, in one piece, with Richard Hockley benefiting hugely there from the shenanigans behind him to actually have a decent lead by the time they get through the first corner. Down the hill they go. There goes the Sean Kite-driven MX-5, and off has gone one of the front runners there, going down the hill and into the gravel, I think, just to the left of our camera. And let's see if we pan around and see if there are cars stuck on whoever it was that they've been able to rejoin. I think they have, but it looked vaguely Honda Civic shaped, the car that was getting out of shape. Or was it maybe one of the Clios? We'll try and figure this out. There was definitely someone sideways, and it was someone within the top 3 or 4. We didn't quite catch it on the pictures. I don't think it was Richard Hockley. I think Hockley's still okay in the race lead. Brabin has lost a lot of ground, but it wasn't Kelly that I saw getting sideways. But they all head then through the right-hander at Coppice Corner. Car number 1 there is Tony Hunter, very rapid Renault Clio driver, and he looks at the inside and should get past the Toyota, I think, down the back straight. Nick Gwinnett's gained some ground as well. He's the red Clio. He started 9th on the grid, and, well, he's not 9th now, is he? He's gained quite a few places, I think. So Hockley then leads the opening lap. Second place, up 4 positions, is Phil Wright, number 31 in his Honda Civic. So it's a Civic 1-2. You've had 3 Civics in the top 4, because after third place, Nick Gwinnett in his Clio, 4th position in number 15, Jamie Anderson's Honda Civic. So Civics have very much come to the front in the early stages. That's the car I think I saw getting sideways. Yeah, David Baldwin. That would make sense because he started second and came through at the end of the opening lap all the way down in 14th. So yeah, it's been Baldwin that had an over down at the old hairpin, which is where we're seeing an overtake now for third position passes. The Civic 1-2-3 now, with Anderson going through and a monumental engine blow up further back for car 150, and that is Tony Markham's Honda Civic. That has expired in a spectacular and I fear rather expensive manner, going down the crane of curves. Thankfully well off the road, but there may be a bit of fluid on the track at the top of the hill. Well, that's his race done, and you imagine his day done, which is such a shame because a lot of these track attack drivers arrived actually on Friday to do some testing. They didn't race yesterday, they didn't even qualify, so they've been hung around all weekend, and then all of a sudden it comes time to race, and it lasts, what, a lap and a bit for one or two of them. So unfortunately that will be a retirement, no doubt, for the Civic, but there are plenty more Civics out there. So and as we've seen now, they're running 1-2-3 with Hockley, Wright and Anderson, your top three runners. There's another Civic making progress, number 6 Alfie Jones, who started in 10th position and is looking across the line now, actually back into 10th. He had lost some ground early on. Another move made there by Anderson. Anderson defending from Gwynett, actually, isn't it, the third, and they're being caught by the Subaru, which, well, you can't see anything there, can you, through the crane of curves, but I saw at the start, out of my window, the Subaru actually had a terrible start, but managed to pick its way through the first corner pretty quickly. Phil Wright is the fastest man on the track, by the way, and in second position. He's actually catching the leader to the tune of about 3/4 of a second that time around. There you can see the two Civics getting themselves together. The Castrol livery car of Phil Wright is definitely going to be on the tail of Richard Hockley before too much longer. As I said though, because it was a damp qualifying session, the grid was a bit jumbled, so there were quite a few drivers that were a little bit out of position and have had to spend the first third of the race just redressing that situation, and now they're getting vaguely back to where they should be. They can start battling the drivers they expected to be battling with, and this was one of the battles we anticipated. The two Civics of Hockley and Wright, very, very evenly matched machines. Richard Hockley may have had the early advantage, but I think he's being caught again on this lap. Let's see. Yes, by another 0.8 of a second. So by the end of this lap, I reckon Phil Wright might be with him. These two run in different classes. Phil Wright runs in the GT250, Hockley in the GT300 class, but they are very evenly matched in performance. There's the recovering Renault Clio of David Baldwin going around the outside of the great Peugeot 106 of Andy Neal. That was for 8th position. Neal now is actually one position below where he started. But blue and white Clio, now it's got some temperature in its tyres, should be one to watch here as he tries to carve his way back towards the front. Sadly, I think any chance of a victory has probably gone by the wayside, but the top 5 may be doable given the speed that car's had all weekend. Class leaders, by the way, the GT300s being led by Hockley, GT250s by Wright, of course. Then you've got Class A being led by Gwynett in his Clio. The overall leaders, though, are together now, and 31, Phil Wright. Where does he make his move now, though? He's caught the slightly newer, actually, Honda Civic in front, and only one generation apart, I think, these two cars, but you can see the extra work that's been done to the Treble 1 car with the rear wing, which in theory adds a bit of downforce, a bit of rear grip. But, these are highly modified cars, certainly not your average road runner. And, both going very rapidly at the moment, actually. These lap times are pretty impressive. 1 minute 21s and 20s we were seeing earlier on. They were both quite slow that time around there. 1:23.3 for the leader, a 22.8 for the second place man, but Baldwin in the Clio, who's just come through there in 7th place now, having actually gained 2 places on the previous lap, is the fastest man on the track. He's just set the fastest lap at 1:20.416, which is about 9 seconds quicker than qualifying. That shows how damp and greasy it was in the qualifying session this morning. And he has been able to make his way past Neal and also past number 24, Josh Bennett. Now, Josh Bennett started 3rd and is now down to 8th position, so I don't think all is well in his Renault Clio. As he goes backwards, another one is very much making progress to the front. Here are a couple of the Peugeots. Now, is this a class leading battle? I wonder. No, it's for 2nd place in Class F. This is, I think, the 42 Peugeot is being driven by Paul Rice. The one behind him is the number 28 car of Daniel Perry. Now, Perry had the class pole position, and Rice was 2nd. But they've both been overtaken, actually, in Class F in the early stages by car number 96, which is David Mycock from 19th on the grid. So Lycott into the class lead, and he's pulling away actually as well by 3.3 seconds. So the battle for second will be more entertaining, I think, within that class. There he is, and the other two Peugeots are side by side and diving up the inside. And that is the change. Perry will go through into what is 15th overall, but second within the class. They're being caught by the 72 car, which is not running in their class. That's the Mazda MX-5, which Sean Kite, which I said should make progress. And strictly speaking, it has. He started 20th and is now 17th, but I had rather more progress in mind when I saw that car mired down the order. It is ahead, though, isn't it, of the Mark III Mazda MX-5, just behind, which is the number 22 machine. So number 22 being driven by Aaron Bunning, who's making some good progress from 24th on the grid. So the Mark III car is on its way towards the midfield battle. Through they go then, across the start-finish line. Perry confirmed now as being second place within the Class F runners, which is, I think, exclusively for Peugeot 206 GTIs. And that's why we get this really close racing between them. And we almost had the change back again then as they went through Redgate Corner. Paul Rice looking around the outside of Daniel Perry. Still these two Civics together in front of the field, and now they're being caught by another of the Civics, the third place car. You can see in the background the even newer shaped Honda Civic, that of Jamie Anderson. So Jamie Anderson on that lap was quite a bit quicker than them actually. He did 1 minute 20.5, so actually matched the leader, but was about 4 tenths quicker than the second place man. Side by side behind, as at the inside for fourth position goes Tony Hunter. Good drive this from Tony Hunter from 11th on the grid. The white Renault Clio gets ahead of the Subaru number 33 of Robbie Durant. Leaders have traffic. Now this could start to make things very interesting as they go through the old hairpin. I can hear the screeching of tyres, and I'm dreading what we're going to see when we pan around. I think they will hopefully got through okay. Mazda RX-8, by the way, which I said would go well, and for once in my life I'm right, because it has been able to come through from 23rd on the grid, that of Clive Hainsford this is, into 11th, and he has just set the fastest lap of the race, whilst at the front, 3 generations of Honda Civic set to do battle for the race victory. The traffic has bunched them all together. It didn't help Rich Hockley at all, and so Phil Wright and Jamie Anderson now right with him. And Anderson, as he turns his way out of Coppice Corner, tries everything he can here to pull alongside, and he almost does actually in his EP3 Honda Civic, very similar to that we've seen racing just now in the Disc Lock Civic Cup. Quite possibly actually would be eligible for the Civic Cup, but he's right now focusing on trying to get his way further up this Track Attack podium. Across the start-finish line they go. The lead gap is 0.6 of a second, but then it's always side-by-side for second place. Jamie Anderson to the outside. It's also side-by-side again for second in Class F, but still the black and blue number 28 machine of Daniel Perry fending off the pole sitter, the second place man on the grid, Paul Rice, for second place in the race. And that was very close though, and they've been caught now, haven't they? Yeah, that's right, by this Mark III MX-5. So Aaron Bunning, well, actually briefly was ahead of Sean Kite in the much older Mark I MX-5, but somehow ended up losing the position again through McLean's. But they're both caught the Peugeots, who are holding each other up and thus holding them up as well. So this is what I love about multi-class racing there, especially when the performance between the various cars is quite equal. You get a lot of really, really intense racing, and then they're all having their own sort of private battles whilst also racing each other. Civics come out of Coppice Corner. They're unlikely to have a clear lap now from now to the flag, because they're right in the thick of the traffic. The field now spread themselves out across most of the racetrack actually, so Rich Hockley, Phil Wright and Jamie Anderson will have a lot of company for the final 4 minutes and 10 seconds of racing. Out of the final chicane they go. Headlights ablaze for the leader Rich Hockley as he tries to warn the slower traffic of his presence, and they're weaving in and out of the cars down the pit straight there. Hockley is just, it seems, able to keep Phil Wright at arm's length, isn't it? Wright can get within a few car lengths, but never really close enough to try and pull off an out-braking manoeuvre. Maybe as it is that rear wing on the Hockley car that's just giving him a bit more downforce, a bit more braking ability. It's being helped by the fact that Wright's getting backed up now into very rapid Jamie Anderson. They head out to the old hairpin then. Any changes further back? Well, yes, quite a few actually, because the number 50 Clio of David Baldwin has gained 2 places, put himself ahead of Nick Gwinnett, and he's gone ahead of the number 8 car of Neil, who started, Andy Neil, who started 8th on the grid. Oh, side by side for the race lead there as they went through coupes, and that was the first real lunge that we've seen Phil Wright make, and actually it doesn't come off, and he could lose second place now because Jamie Anderson takes full advantage of the loss of momentum to pull alongside down the exhibition straight. I'm not sure if there was contact though. There was definitely contact there though, and on the grass goes Wright, and he's not going to stop for the corner. That was a bit unnecessary really, wasn't it? He'll rejoin, but behind the number 1 of Tony Hunter, so the Clio will actually move through now into a podium position, and Phil Wright might have an opinion on that, I reckon, because that could have been avoided, that contact. There was no traffic around. They had plenty more racetrack they could have used there to avoid contact, but either way, contact was made and off he went. So he drops down into actually 5th position, because there is a very good chance here that David Baldwin could get himself onto the podium. He's into 4th place now, 4.3 seconds behind the similar Clio of Tony Hunter, and that would be for the Class A victory as well. So that fight for 3rd is going to be mighty entertaining in the final few laps. We could see a real ding-dong battle between the two of them. Jamie Anderson on the grass there trying to get past some back markers. Of course, he's now into 2nd place, albeit rather robustly. He wants to go after Rich Hockley, but that little knot of traffic has done him no favours at all. And in fact, he's lost outlook because the number 1 car of Hunter's gone through. So Hunter is ahead of him now into 2nd position. It's all changed now, hasn't it? So the white Clio is 2nd position, that black and yellow Honda is in 3rd, and the blue and white Clio in the background is 4th. We've got a change now between the Sean Kite MX-5 and the Paul Rice Peugeot, which is still 3rd in class. All of this whilst the leaders are coming through, so it was almost guaranteed it was all going to kick off then, and kick off it did. Right, the leader is about to come through onto what may or may not be the final lap. They're lapping in the 1 minute 20s, and Rich Hockley crosses the timing beam with almost exactly 1 minute and 20 left on the clock. So this may be the last lap, it may not be. I can't see if there's a last lap poured out, but we'll, in a way, hope that it's not, because I've been thoroughly enjoying this. There is the recovering Wright, and has he lost another place? Yeah, Gwinnett's gone through now, so a rather disheartening, I imagine, Phil Wright, losing out now another position to Nick Gwinnett in the number 14 Renault Clio, who's 3rd in Class A. So all the Class A cars getting themselves together towards the end of the race, but that is the man on the move, the number 50 Renault Clio, as it works its way down the hill. The blue and white number 50 of David Baldwin is already into 4th position. Can Davey get himself onto the podium? And actually, can Tony Hunter catch the race leader? Because on the previous lap he was a couple of tenths quicker than Hockley, but he's back behind Anderson now, so 2nd place has changed hands once more. Positions are changing literally too quickly to keep up. I'm doing my best, but every time we cut to a different group of cars, they're in a completely different order to how we last saw them. On the timing screen, quite frankly, within about 10 seconds of the cars coming across the line, the timing screen is neither useful nor ornament because it's changed again. So my timing screen tells me that Hockley is 3.7 seconds ahead of Hunter with Anderson 3rd, and we know that not to be true now. We've got a Peugeot off the road, and that is the 108 of Charlie Bingham, who was 3rd on the grid in Class F. Checkered flag, though, has gone out to Richard Hockley, so they chose to throw the checkered flag. They didn't quite have enough time to get round for another lap. It was very close for 2nd, and Hunter got it by 1/4 of a second, so the Clio may be behind the Civic by the time we get to Redgate, but it was ahead at the line. So Hockley wins, Hunter 2nd, Anderson 3rd, and 4th for Baldwin then, which was not bad, actually, given how the race started with that spin or the big moment he had down at the old hairpin. Nick Gwinnett was 5th, 6th place Phil Wright, 7th for Hainsford in the RX-8, who retained that fastest lap to the end. 8th position then for Andy Neil, 9th for number 6, which was Alfie Jones in the Honda Civic, and the Subaru faded towards the end there, unfortunately. Number 33, Robbie Durant, having run in the top 5 early on, although everyone had a spell in the top 5, it seemed, at some point in that race. As far as class winners are concerned, the top 3 cars all win their respective classes. So Hockley wins the GT300s, Hunter wins Class A, and Anderson wins the GT250s. Then in the... what other classes do we have? We have Class MM, which was, I think, a class of 1 anyway, so Hainsford in the RX-8 wins that. Class D was won by the number 8 Peugeot 106 of Andy Neil. Mycock wins in Class F, in the number 96 Peugeot by 5.3 seconds in the end over Rice in 2nd. So where did Perry go? Because Perry was 2nd and he ends up finishing 3rd and actually several positions behind the rest of them. Rich Hockley's gone for another lap of honour, by the way. He's chosen not to pit at the end of the in-lap. It must have been a really last-minute call to get the checkered flag out. And He's soaking up the applause from the spectators around the Donington Park circuit. And as rightfully he might, because he may have won the race by nearly 6 seconds in the end, but that doesn't really do it justice, does it? So Hockley with the win, Hunter second, Anderson third, Baldwin fourth, and Nick Quinn in fifth. Then Phil Wright, Clive Hainsford, Andy Neal, Alfie Jones, and Robbie Durant round out the top 10. I'm struggling for breath after that. That's fantastic. 11th place then was Brabin in the Salika. Now, Brabin also lost ground because Kelly Brabin started fourth and ends up all the way down in 11th, but actually still wins the class. That's GT200s. That's the class I forgot about, I think. Oh, that and Class E, actually, because in 12th position, number 24, Josh Bennett there wins in Class E in his Renault Clio, which confusingly wasn't in the same class as the other Clios for reasons I know not. 13th then, and another class winner, Class B. There were quite a lot of classes I forgot, as it turns out. Class B won by number 95, Andrew Mitchell in the Peugeot 205 GTI. 14th was number 7, which was the Middleton MX-5. Which we didn't see much of, Kevin Middleton, but that was a Mark 1 Mazda MX-5. And then the rest of them all appearing on your screen. The Class F cars, as I said, Mycock with the win, Rice second, and Perry in third position. But something for everyone to race for in that race, which I do like. And they certainly raced, didn't they? That was there was some brilliant action there between lots of cars battling for class position, but also mingling with other classes, and that's what makes for particularly exciting racing, because you have speed differential between the various classes, but over a lap they're actually pretty even. It's just they make their speed in different parts of the track. Some of them are better through the corners, some are better in a straight line, and that guarantees that you will have lots and lots of action, and almost too much action to keep up with, quite frankly, but I enjoyed doing my best to do so anyway. So the drivers then make their way back into the pit lane. Richard Hockley, your winner, second place for Tony Hunter, and third position for number 15, Jamie Anderson. And they all are their respective class winners as well, so it'll be a very happy podium that we hopefully are able to bring to you